First, we have the Kristi Noem hair extensions and everything press conference in LA. And she's got up on a PowerPoint slide. I believe what she has up is a bunch of third world illegal migrants who are vicious criminals, murderers, grapers, kidnappers, human traffickers. And who shows up but California U.S. Senator Alex Padilla to disrupt, interrupt, force his way violently into this press conference, which is not his press conference, tries to force his way up to the lectern, doesn't wait for the Q&A period, interrupts Kristi Noem's speech, and he does so in such an aggressive manner that it alarms security. He's not wearing his identification pin that U.S. senators are assigned so that federal security will know there's somebody in an official position. He just seems like, well, one of the lunatics in L.A. So the cops begin to hold him back, and Alex Padilla says, F that, I'm getting through, and he fights with them. We'll see that in the video. This is what it looked like just from the lectern, and you'll be able to hear Alex Padilla shouting in the background like the deranged progressive lunatic that he is. Let's hear it.
This country and what they have tried to insert into
I don't know what you consist
so I want to say thank you to
exaggerated
every
and
single person that has been able to do
hands
this.
up, hands up.
Also, I want to talk
Senator Alex Padilla. I have questions for the Secretary, because the fact of the matter is, a half a dozen violent criminals that you're rotating on your.
I also want to talk about specifically how many of our ICE agents have been doxxed for doing their duty.
So many people are saying on the left, of course, is wait, he identified him as California Senator Alex Padilla. Well, first of all, he didn't do that until he was already disrupting the proceeding, and the security was already engaged. And guess what? I could roll into that room and say, I'm U.S. Senator Alex Padilla. Nobody knows who he is. He's not wearing his identification pin. Merely shouting the magic words does not get security, who you've already alarmed, to stand down. That would be insane. Security does a great job here. And look how forcefully he's resisting security. Notice how Democrats don't show this longer video that clearly shows Alex Padilla getting violent with federal agents. This man committed a crime that January 6ers got thrown in prison for years. Maybe this will be another Democrat government official federally charged and indicted and heading to trial. Check it out.
Hands up, hands up. I'm Senator Alex Padilla. I have questions for the Secretary, because the fact of the matter is, a half a dozen violent criminals that you're rotating on your.
I also want to talk about specifically how many of our ICE agents have been doxxed for doing their duty.
Comes across as quite the lunatic. Did you know that in all 50 states, self-defense law, not gun law, but self-defense law, uses a simple 5-element test to see if your use of defensive force was legally justified? And that same test applies no matter what state you're in or what tool you use to defend yourself. If you're missing even one of those required elements, however, you've made yourself an easy conviction for an aggressive prosecutor. My name is Attorney Andrew Branca, and I've worked more than 30 years as a self-defense attorney. Every state has seemingly endless, complex pages of laws regarding self-defense, so complex that many top criminal defense attorneys rely on my expert analysis to help win self-defense cases for their clients. If the legal code is that complex for lawyers, how can a citizen gun owner expect to know or even follow the law, especially when a life or death situation has triggered a massive adrenaline-fueled mandate to make that fight or flight decision right now? It seems daunting. Yet I created a simple but powerful framework that has allowed me to serve the legal community and countless American gun owners to simplify this legal complexity into just 5 elements of self-defense law. And you can learn my 5-element legal algorithm I use to consult on and win with the top criminal defense attorneys all over the country to protect law-abiding, gun-owning citizens from making innocent legal missteps that land them in prison. Now, with a simple read or listen, you can install my 5-point legal framework so it acts as a sort of muscle memory defense to protect you from losing your rights when you choose to defend innocent human life. Click below to get the latest edition of my book, The Law of Self-Defense Principles, for free. I ask only that you help cover the shipping and handling cost to get the book to you. Homeland Security posted this. Senator Padilla chose disrespectful political theater and interrupted a live press conference without identifying himself or having his Senate security pin on as he lunged towards Secretary Noem. Now, of course, he did identify himself. We can hear it, but not until he'd started the fracas. And then his mere words alone are not sufficient to warrant security to stand down, given he's already interrupting a press conference that is not his. Mr. Padilla was told repeatedly to back away and did not comply with officers' repeated commands. Secret Service thought he was an attacker, and the officers acted appropriately. Well, they thought he was an attacker. They should have been a lot more forceful than they were. Where are all the tasers when we need them? Secretary Noem met with Senator Padilla afterwards and held a 15-minute meeting. In other words, Senator Padilla could have spoken with Secretary Noem anytime he wanted. You just don't get to interrupt the middle of someone else's press conference. Ironically enough, Alex Padilla is a bit famous for when Trump was being pursued by the Biden prosecutors for proclaiming repeatedly, guess what? No one is above the law. Indeed, no one is above the law, Senator Padilla, and hopefully not you either. Of course, Gavin Newsom comes to this guy's defense. Senator Alex Padilla is one of the most decent people I know. Well, Gavin helped install this guy into office. This is outrageous, dictatorial, and shameful. Trump and his shock troops are out of control. This must end now. But just like Homeland Security noted, Senator Padilla chose disrespectful political theater, interrupted a live press conference, without identifying himself or having a Senate security pin on as he lunged toward Secretary Noem. Secretary Noem. Here's Secretary Noem talking about it. Still got the hair extensions. Those got to be hair extensions, right? Hey, ladies in the chat, I know my audience is like 98% men. Ladies in the chat, you tell me, are those hair extensions? Can that be her natural hair? I mean, she's not an unattractive woman, but she's not 25. Let's see what she has to say. I'm betting. Should I make that a poll? I'll make that a poll. That's worthy of a poll. Women only. Real women. None of you weirdos. All right, women only. Noem hair. I'll make it possessive. Noem's hair. Natural or hair extensions or some other weird modification. All right, that poll is up. Women only. Women only. Because I don't know. I'm not trying to make a statement here. I just don't know. I don't know. I don't know what age has to do with long hair, except I know a lot of older women end up with short haircuts. So I'm just asking.
I had a conversation with the senator after this. We sat down for 10 to 15 minutes and talked about the fact that nobody knew who he was. He didn't say who he was, that until he was already had been lunging forward and people were trying to detain him for quite a period of time. And that this, we're leaders, we're public servants. And if he had requested a meeting, I would have loved to have sat down and had a conversation with him. That coming into a press conference like this is political theater. It's wrong, and it does a disservice to this country and the people who live here. So we sat down, had a conversation. We'd probably disagree on 90% of the topics, but we agreed to exchange phone numbers. We'll continue to talk and share information. And I think that's the way it should be in this country.
Except, of course, if you're a progressive fascist, you live off of chaos and disorder. Live off of chaos and disorder. Yes, I agree. Kristi Noem is beautiful. She's a very attractive woman. No question about it. I was just curious about the hair. I'm not making a value judgment. I don't care if it's natural or extensions. She looks lovely. I mean, I use extensions, obviously. All right. So, of course, this was obviously all political theater. And, of course, the Democrats are making their political theater mileage out of it. here's a bunch of just, I don't know what to say, just Democrats, Democrats, meeting with the Hispanic caucus, because I guess, Alex Padilla is Hispanic, to the Senate to demand GOP leader John Thune take immediate action to investigate and hold DHS accountable for the assault and detainment of Senator Padilla. This is America. This is our democracy. They're not going to stand for it. They're going to walk for it. They're not going to stand for it. They're going to walk for it. So I don't know what that's supposed to be about. I'm not going to play that whole clip. It looks like just a waste of time. Mike Davis writes, Padilla assaulted federal officers. March your trash back to the House. Indeed. And here's federal attorney, former federal prosecutor, federal defense attorney of many January 6ers, shipwrecked crew. He writes, Padilla's refusal to comply is resisting and opposing under 18 U.S.C. 111, a criminal statute. Both are felonies when there's physical contact with the officers, and there clearly is. Hundreds of January 6 defendants are quite familiar with the charge and the elements of the charge because many of them were sentenced to years in prison over it. And here is that statute, 18111, assaulting, resisting, or impeding certain officers or employees. Whoever forcibly assaults, resists, opposes, impedes any person designated by Section 114, which is just federal law enforcement officers, who's engaged in the conduct of their duties, or who forcibly assaults or intimidates anyone, that's not important for our purposes, shall, where the acts in violation of this section constitute only simple assault, be subject to not more than a year in prison, or where such acts involve physical contact with the victim, be fined under this title or imprisoned for not more than 8 years. This is an 8-year felony for each of the officers that Alex Padilla here, and of course, like House of Representatives, LaMonica, the black version of Franz MacGyver, it's all captured on video. It's incontestable that he was engaged in this conduct, assaulting, resisting, and impeding federal officers. 8 years for each of those men. And then, of course, it being social media, it being X, I ran into one of the dumbest people I've ever met. He says, but it was the Secret Service pushing and shoving him. Well, of course, they're allowed to do that. The rules for use of force are not the same for officers lawfully subduing a non-compliant suspect and for the non-compliant suspect to use against the officers. They're not on an equal footing. This guy was forcing his way into the middle of a press conference without identification of any meaningful sort, other than after he'd started being aggressive, calling out his own name, didn't have the security pin to which he has been assigned specifically for this purpose, so Secret Service would know he's a government official. It's not the same rules for the Secret Service defending a cabinet-level secretary from an unknown, loud, physically violent person forcing himself into a press conference. Obviously, the rules are different. But of course, it turns out I'm an idiot. I'm just an idiot. I like this guy's take. Big balls, too. I don't know if he's associated with Doge or not. I just thought his comment was funny. He sounds very sympathetic to Senator Padilla, doesn't he? I have to cut Senator Padilla a break a little bit on this. I mean, I think he's just passionate. He's just passionate about protecting and supporting illegals who, for example, grape children. Padilla's love of people who grape children seems to have gotten the better of him. So I'll give him a pass on this outburst trying to protect a child rapist like he's doing. And of course, that's what all these Democrats are doing. All of them are protecting illegal migrant third world invaders, many of whom have committed the most egregious crimes that you can commit. Murder, manslaughter, rape, kidnapping, human trafficking, drug trafficking, child predation. That's who these people are fighting so desperately to keep in the country. Here's the always great and powerful Stephen Miller. He writes, if your stance is that we can only deport illegals after they violently attack a citizen, in other words, well, don't deport the ones who haven't committed a crime yet. If your position is we can only deport them after they violently attack a citizen, then you're saying we have no border at all. Because everyone gets to come in, and then we just wait and see if they commit a violent crime before we deport them. Zero rules, zero restrictions, no limits. Anyone can come. Anyone can overstay a visa. Anyone can stay forever. Total anarchy. Nation dissolved. And of course, I agree. Everybody must go home. Now, I'll agree also with prioritization. We have limited resources. Even Trump cannot snap his fingers and make 100 million illegal migrant third world invaders disappear. It takes time. And if it's going to take time, it makes sense to prioritize the worst of them first and then work our way down the list of priority. I still believe everybody has to go. If you're here illegally, you must go home. Then you can apply to come in lawfully. See you in a few years. But no one gets to be in America unlawfully. Thanks for watching this highlight segment of our full-length Law of Self-Defense live stream. If you enjoyed this content, make sure to give us a like and subscribe for more expert analysis on politics, law, and how to be hard to convict. And to watch the full-length episode of this show, just click right here. Stay safe.